This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
You are listening to Lucha Afterground.
Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Lucha Afterground, the premier Lucha Underground after show. My name is Travis. Max is away because in 2 days he has taken that walk. 2 days from when we're recording. By the time you guys hear this, he will be a newly wedded man. So he's busy with prep for that right now. But I am beyond thrilled to have a special guest with us here today. Friend of the show, confidant at times, Mr. Robert Charlton. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing very well, Travis. Thank you very much for asking me to be on. It's quite an honor to join my favorite podcast and get in front of some of the other believers to chat some lucha.
That sounds great. So, Robert, you are from Ohio. I want to make something clear really quick here. We are not... I didn't come to this decision just because you are our most dedicated fan, but honestly, it's because I've got an idea for your kind of online opinions, and they don't fall into any sort of category that would make me there's no why aren't they turning Roman heel or any of that trash, and I've seen that you are you get out to a lot of shows. You're very involved in at least supporting your local community, which is in Ohio. We are both I should mention we are both big fans of the defending American League champion Cleveland Indians, which is
the American Central.
again, hopefully we hang on. I was going to ask you, what have you heard about? I remember hearing a while back, if we can go off on a bit of a tangent, what's up with Francona's health?
I honestly haven't heard anything recently. I know he's had to take a couple of games off here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I have concerns that after this season, we may not see much more of him. I think, if nothing else, he might take a year off to kind of recover and get his life back together.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll bring home the big trophy this year to make up for it.
That would be nice. And it looks like they're definitely trending in the right direction. So why don't you just do a quick introduction for yourself in terms of your wrestling background as a fan, as somebody who goes to a lot of shows, and you had mentioned one that you had recently gone to. But why don't you tell me a bit about the local scene and what else you try to get out to?
Actually, it's great because my wife actually is really big into professional wrestling as well.
Nice,
so we make a lot of trips together, so it's not a burden. It's fun that she gets involved in it because it gives me a lot of opportunities. Over the summer so far, we've been to Toronto to see Canuck Pro, where Pete Dunne made an appearance.
Yeah.
We just got home from New York City over the weekend. We went to Queens to see the Evolve show. It was Evolve 91 and Progress in New York.
Wow.
Which was fantastic. Little gym there. They had some air conditioning running that wasn't nearly enough for the 1,500 people we packed into the building.
Yeah, I heard multiple beefs about that online.
Yeah, it was certainly uncomfortable, but it was an experience that was pretty fantastic because we don't really have an opportunity to get over to the UK very often to see them live. And Progress is honestly right now, and I hate to say it being on a Lucha Underground podcast, but Progress right now is probably, I think, the best independent company out there.
Cool.
They do just great work. Jim Smallman, who runs it, is a great guy, genuinely a good dude. There were 1,500 sweaty, angry people in that building, and he made everybody have a good time.
That's great.
So that's pretty great. And then locally, we have AIW, or Absolute Intense Wrestling.
Yeah, that's right. I think I've seen you post a couple things from there.
Yeah, I could run down the roster of WWE guys that came through AIW.
Yeah.
We're talking world champs, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano's most of his career, early part of it was spent in AIW. a lot of guys who are on the main roster or in NXT have spent some significant time there, so we get to enjoy that on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah.
And there we have a show coming up on Friday, actually, at a little kind of a dive bar out in Mentor on the Lake, which there's a special guest who I may be referencing later in the podcast when we get to a certain segment, so I'm going to leave him a mystery for now.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. It's great that you have access to, drive away to a lot of these things. My wife and I don't know if you remember a while back, we made the trip down to Yakima. Do you remember when I was talking about that show?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm fortunate that she's into it to a degree. We're not ever kind of canceling weekend plans when something comes up, but that is a big bonus when both of you everybody in the house is into it.
It does make it a lot easier.
That's true. Oh man, you hear horror stories. Anyways, let's get into. I think we should do a quick little news and notes. So I don't know how often. What's your Wrestling Observer kind of ratio in terms of how often do you listen to anything? How often do you read?
The Observer and the Torch, I don't do that often. As much as I love and support Meltzer, I just have a hard time paying as much as a subscription cost for that. I've got to pay for actual wrestling content, things like New Japan World, Progress on Demand, things like that.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, and I'm kind of fortunate to be in a situation where this is we're kind of shading some dollars off the cost. I'll say that, but I still, I mean, I'd probably tune into maybe, a quarter to a half of the podcast of the week, and I always read at least half of every newsletter, just kind of skim through and stuff. But I was listening the other day, and Alvarez was talking about this kind of growing trend. I don't know if you'd heard anybody talking about this, with the Lucha Underground viewership going down after really bad kind of intergender violence.
Yes, I actually did catch that. I caught that on a YouTube video. Somebody uploaded some of that podcast.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this holds any water or any weight?
I honestly don't think that it does. I hear you and Max talk about it a lot of times. I have to say that at no time really on Lucha have I ever really felt uncomfortable with the intergender violence, because I feel like they present their female wrestlers as female wrestlers.
They do.
Not as your typical valet or just someone who's there and they put them in a wrestling role like the WWE used to do. So like even really brutal matches, like when they had Cage and Taya, and he's suplexing her off the ring apron through a table. Yeah. And, she gets enough hope spots in the match, and I think that she comes out as tough enough to be able to hang with a lot of the guys, maybe not get a W over them, but not to the point where I think it's like, wow, that was uncomfortable violence. Yeah,
it works with her. I mean, I bring it up because of, just the finish with Brenda, talking about somebody from the previous episode, talking about somebody who's not involved, and she's been purely a valet. I think that's it for me. The only times when I get kind of flavin', and I know that he's that's his thing. That's his thing. He is the cold-blooded killer. But it's just, I don't know. I don't think that people are fine. Oh, that's it. Now I'm done. I gave it another chance, and now I'm walking away. I don't think that's a real thing. But I think what you were describing kind of does give them an out. But I do think at times that it's still, like, I've talked about the stuff that you talked about, or the Jeremiah Crane versus Taya, when they're kind of exchanging those legit slaps. That's kind of just, it becomes a little too real to me, damn it,
that was a rough one.
Yeah.
The wrestling aspect, like with the cage and Taya match, I feel is more of a traditional wrestling match.
Sure.
Jeremiah Crane and Taya was definitely more of a fight where there was a lot more physical face slapping and punching and things like that. I've seen Sami Callihan live a couple of times, and that guy is incredibly intense. It's one of the things I really love about his work, but that might be an instance where maybe that might have been a little too far. And again, I kind of agree with the Brenda thing also. I don't know that was necessary, but it is his thing to break people's arms, but I think he could have gotten away with just doing Famous B and then kind of leaving it at that.
Yeah, I think especially if it ends up being that Tejano does align with Famous B, that gave you your out to finally kind of be their little hero. You know what I mean? Like, it's if anything, it's a missed opportunity if they are going that direction. Anyway.
Yeah, that would definitely be a good option for them, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of chemistry there, or that they're going to further that story very far, at least not with only, 10 episodes or 9 episodes left now this season.
Well, they definitely signaled that they're in the home stretch of this last thing. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We are soundboard free today, so I think that's it for news and notes, unless you found anything that we should be talking about.
The only thing that I had additional was that our boy Ricochet, Prince Puma, over the weekend at the G1 Finals, captured the New Japan Junior Heavyweight tag titles with Reyes Taguchi.
I know. I loved it. It was such a fun match.
A pretty exciting match, but with the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
So following him around and seeing his success other places is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
he definitely has drawn me into a lot more indie wrestling than where I had been a couple of years ago before I caught on to him in Lucha Underground. I
hear that. I feel like it's almost just borderline repetitive, the praise we heap on him, but it's always well deserved.
Yes, it is.
Those last two shows of that tournament were so good, I thought.
Oh, just unbelievable. I don't understand, anyone who... I mean, everybody has their opinion on wrestlers, and I'm never going to tell anyone that their opinion is wrong. It's just a side that I can't see of people who have anything negative to say about Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
That guy wrestled 2 5-star matches within a 24-hour period of one another that went over 25 minutes both times, I believe.
Yeah.
And there was no sign of him slowing down. He could do it, I think, 4 or 5 times a week if he wanted to, and he's just he's unreal.
A special talent, a special talent. But yeah, all right, let's get to it with what does he say? What's the fucking button that Max always hits at this point? Violence. There's something before that. It's not like without further ado or something like that. Anyway, so Lucha Underground, Season 3, Episode 31. And a recap with the Cueto Cup so far. A reminder of Marty and Melissa, Katrina and Pentagon, Mundo and Ray, and Katrina and Vasquez. So first of all, I want to say all the vignettes this episode were, I thought, really good and just didn't waste any time. Like, they were using every shot to move stuff forward. I thought the performances were really good throughout. And it started with this one. Cage is working out. Katrina appears, asks him about the gauntlet, tells him it doesn't belong to you. It has dangerous magic. Says it's his, and he always does things the hard way or whatever. And he kind of swipes her, and she bamfs out of there. Solid, I thought.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good segment. I've bagged on Katrina a little bit through some of the vignettes that she's been in, but I think the second half of this season she's been dynamite, and they've asked her to carry a lot of load in these.
Big time.
I mean, especially the end of last week's episode where her and Vasquez met, I thought that could have been a complete failure.
Sure.
It could have come off as super cheesy, but it absolutely did not. And I thought it was kind of cool in this one. I think this, and I haven't really looked back at every episode to see it, but I think this might be the first time where Katrina teleports and you kind of see her vanishing in front of the person she does it from, which is actually something, usually because the lights will go out and she'll be somewhere else, but this kind of happened in the middle of the scene, which was a new visual effect for them. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, or it could be she's losing her power.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, who knows?
Heighten the drama.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And from this, we go to another sequence instead of entering the temple. And we're in Dario Cueto's office. Enter Joey Ryan. He reminds him of his first round loss. He's like, yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. Joey Ryan, it says, you know who Veneno is? And Dario needs a minute to remember who he is. The poor bastard. Just can't even get over it. No alter egos can get over the temple for this guy. Dario, as I said, Joey explains who he is. Really solid, kind of subtle Dario Cueto acting here to the reaction. And he does it. This is so awesome. He makes the connection to Sexy Star in the Spiders. Of course he does. Oh, gosh. So next week, we've got Sexy Star versus Veneno, Mask versus Mask.
This is the match that I didn't know I wanted, but now that it's here, I don't want anything else.
Yeah.
I know the finals of the Cueto Cup are next week. You know what? Give me this Mask versus Mask match with Veneno and Sexy Star. I'm going to go away a happy man.
Yeah, for sure. So funny. Oh, gosh, and she's just going to be...
Dario is just the best. When he looked confused when Joey said Veneno, I lost it.
Me too.
It was so good.
No,
he just doesn't care.
I know.
He just doesn't care.
I know.
It's so good.
Oh, God. Yeah, even, Cortez, Riaz, he has to, go through all the names.
He had to tell him all of his different names until he finally figured it out.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So unimpressed.
I think I killed somebody he knew. So good. So we enter the temple. The new band, Slapback, is back. I don't remember if we were big on them or not. I do notice the first thing they cut to is a kid in a mask who just could not be more bored out of his skull. Do you remember seeing this?
Yeah, that little dude wanted nothing to do with Slapback.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I blame him.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad on them. We'll see. They're still...
After having two good bands in a row, it's kind of hard to go to Slapback and really have any enthusiasm.
It's true. My concern now is we're going to finish with the Chimps for Ultima Lucha.
Oh, no.
It's possible.
Anything but the Chimps, my kingdom for not the Chimps.
It's possible. Anywho, we go into our first match. It's Phoenix versus Prince Puma. Two of the just touchstone guys here, two of the cornerstone of this effing promotion. Vampire opens with some sports rivalry analogies. Good to kind of build whatever, builds the hype. I get it. I always use shorthand, so I always get a couple names mixed up. But Melissa Santos smiles at Phoenix. Thinking at this point, I'm like, yeah, okay, Marty's getting involved at some point. Fun chain wrestling to start. Good escalation into a slugfest. Kip up to continue. Nice early energy. Build to, another ho-hum. This is what I'm talking. Ho-hum Prince Puma flip to the outside. I noticed at this point, I thought their timing was really starting to improve. It felt like it wasn't quite there to begin, but they were picking it up here. Phoenix nicely counters Puma's suplex combo. That was good to see. Puma hits the 619, a nice touch for, they did a really good job of just kind of hinting at all the various storylines going on right now. Today, I thought, so that's good. Both short-term and long-term. The crowd is really behind Phoenix. I wonder if they're piping in those cheers at this point because of how much our boy Puma is always over. If they are, I don't care. That's a...
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I could buy those cheers. I think Phoenix, if anyone in the temple, the four guys who wrestled tonight are clearly the fan favorites there. So it wouldn't shock me if a lot of that was legit, but it also wouldn't shock me if the entire audience was cheering for both guys back and forth.
Yeah. And then maybe make some... turn the volumes down in parts, but whatever, it works. Wild, I remember this off-the-top miss from Puma that with the whole with Max's. It's got one of Max's favorite little corkscrews thrown in there with everything. That was really, really great. And
corkscrew.
Yeah. And Phoenix hits a nice code red for a near fall. We got our "This is awesome" chant. Good back and forth between the two. awesome. I thought they were awesome cutter from Phoenix. Off of, they were both kind of seemed like they were both kind of doing their flips into the ropes.
Off the handspring that he does, that catches him. That was really smooth.
Really
that's a move that can easily look real bad.
Yeah, for sure. But here you can see that these guys are really, really on at this point. I like Puma's aggression getting the better of him. This is good, like good character work. Phoenix's awesome enziguri followed by a crazy kick to the back of the head. Marty enters with the lunchbox, and now we know we're getting to the finish. So Phoenix has to flip that outside to help, and it's from like a really, really tight angle, but he hits it. Puma hits the knee strike and the tuck driver for a near fall and goes up for the 630 and hits it for the win. Nice little touch of Melissa screaming just before she announces the winner. I'm at 3 1/4 on this. I couldn't go as high as I did on the Puma PJ or the Puma Fox, just because I don't know, I felt more just kind of drama in that one than I did with this, even with the extra stuff. But two strong performers, match built strongly, and the finish, even with the dustiness, it made sense for the stories they're telling.
Yeah, it definitely did. My only complaint with the kind of distraction finish is just there's been so many of them throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
That's another theme we'll touch again on, I'm sure, when we get into the second match for this episode, is I don't know if it's a matter of them taping this so far in advance that they couldn't tell people's reactions, maybe getting tired of that kind of finish, because I don't have an exact count, but I feel like at least half of the matches throughout the tournament have had some kind of interference or
That's
distraction.
a really good point.
And I understand they want to keep a lot of these guys looking like the best guys, but at the same time, somebody has to take a clean pin, and especially when you're in the semifinals of a big tournament. But otherwise, the match was fantastic. I mean, these are definitely two of the 4 best guys in Lucha Underground.
Yeah.
Phoenix debuted some new gear tonight, I noticed.
I saw that.
He wasn't wearing those pants. He had some shorts on.
That
was an interesting little change.
I thought so too. It was a little different. I've never seen him not in tights.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I was talking to the wife while we were watching, and I go, look at Phoenix is wearing new gear, and she's like, yeah, are those connected to his knee pads?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know exactly. I finally got a good look at him. But yeah, overall, this was a real solid match. One that I was really looking forward to, and I was not disappointed. Prince Puma and Phoenix always put on a good show, and finally getting them together in a singles match was pretty exciting. Yeah, agreed.
In terms of that finish, as I said, I kind of give it a little bit of an excuse because it's furthering the story between Phoenix and Marty. So in this case, but I totally get your point about there are way too many of them.
Yeah, and they need to. I mean, it's clear that Phoenix isn't going to be involved kind of in the top slot for Ultima Lucha Trace. So with only a few episodes left, it's good to really get it locked in as to what the stakes are going to be for him and Marty. Probably going to be their Ultima Lucha Trace match, I would imagine.
Yep, sounds about right. Let's do this quick segment, then we'll do these last 2 matches after a break. So we've got I did want to mention there's a really nice and again furthering story with Phoenix embracing Melissa Santos on the side looking on at Marty. Nice little touch there. So we go into the sexy stars in the locker room. Her water bottle rumbles, kind of Jurassic Park-esque. Then we see a bit of, quick reaction from Dario, who's just, he's always great. We've named a goddamn award after him, but
he is the best.
Everything he did today was out of the park. Everything, even this brief little stupid reaction. Katrina enters with some something for what did she do with Pentagon?
I'm trying to think now.
Yeah,
I have to look back and see now. I don't even remember how they interacted.
Yeah. Anyways,
she definitely did something with him before they showed.
Yeah, but anyways, Cage comes from behind, and here's where I noticed. It looked to me like she hit him in the back of the head and knocked him out. Right.
That's what I thought.
I saw zero working over of the ribs here. Do you know what I mean?
It didn't seem like that he hit him in the side or in the ribs. I thought he whacked him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And then he dropped it on him. I think my favorite part about this was the bell noise that the metal plate made when it hit middle. Said, well, I'm not not sure that's what that sounds like, but I can get behind it.
Yeah, a little cartoony.
It was awesome that Mill's just so angry that he's making the entire temple shake, throwing punches at a heavy bag.
Yeah, at a heavy bag. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's what I had written. Yeah, Mil Muertes is working out and roaring as he's doing it. And everybody's hearing it.
He's just furious.
Yeah, and so after he's down, like I guess somewhere somebody's lines were crossed because maybe this is nitpicking, but the guy's selling his ribs when he comes out seconds later. They should have at least had some sort of insert of him lowering that bell or whatever it was into his rib cage or something. But
bandage on half of his mask to cover up his head injury.
Anyway, so she uses the rock to revive him, and again, I'm like, this is where I wrote down, there are no wasted scenes today. Everything is fitting into the short-term storylines, and they're building the bigger stuff. So that's why talking about these vignettes. Everything
absolutely.
Flipped. Yeah, good stuff. No,
Katrina was money again in this scene. Mill just rising up immediately when she used the rock to just show the power of it. They go to that story point over and over and over again, but through 2 3/4 seasons at this point, I'm not tired of it. I think The Rock is a great story piece.
Me too.
And while it gets talked about all the time, it's not like it's beating a dead horse the way they talk about it. It just feels good, and it's something that's natural kind of to the whole gimmick between the two of them.
The Rock rocks, my friend. All right. With that, there it is. I wanted to go off on a dad joke here because we're going to take a quick break here and here's some words from our friends at Place to Be Nation.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, pro wrestling announcer Kevin Kelly here. I want to make sure you are all subscribed to all the great feeds here at Place to Be Nation. It's really easy to do. Just head to iTunes or your preferred podcatcher app today and search and subscribe to the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, which of course includes the full archives of the Kevin Kelly Show, the Place to Be Nation pod feed, and the Pro Wrestling Only feed. Subscribe, listen, and then rate us and leave feedback today. And be sure to give Justin your true thoughts. I mean, don't hold back. After all, he is kind of a jerk. Just listen to Scott.
Place to Be Nation's JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have a ton of great podcasts available to you on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com, and we offer those to you on 3 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, we bring you the Mothership, the original Place to Be podcast, as well as Main Event, Lucha Afterground, and our monthly pay-per-view reaction shows, as well as the Our Vantage Point podcast and Jeff Learns Wrestling. In addition to these full-length shows, we also deliver quick-hit pod blasts on topics old and new.
Over on the Pro Wrestling Only feed, we dive deep inside the wrestling business with a stacked army of experts leading the way. The feed features potpourri shows such as This Week in Wrestling, Greetings from Allentown, Psychology is Dead, Puro Potpourri, Stacy and Elliot's Bogus Journey, and the Military Industrial Suplex. We also have shows that focus intently on certain topics like Letters from Center Stage, Space City, and NWA Classics on Demand Adventure, Through the Years, Strong Style History, Strong Style Story, and Mount Olympus. Plus, the feed has the full archives of legendary shows like Titans of Wrestling, Where the Big Boys Play, Letters from Kayfabe, and much more. And on our popular Place to Be Nation Pop podcast feed, we offer such great shows as the Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular, Rank and File, PTBN Dadcast, Go Home in a Box, NBA Team, and Lucha Undead, as well as a veritable podcast heaven for comics fans with the Hard Traveling Fanboys, Sellers Points, Todd Weber's Conversation, Geek and Sassy, and Imaginary Stories podcasts.
You can find all of these current shows plus archives of our past podcasts, including The Kevin Kelly Show, as well by subscribing to all of our feeds on iTunes, and while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others, available on PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects and more. Be sure to support our site by using PlaceToBeNation.com/Amazon when shopping online, and download our free PTB Vintage Vault Refresh ebooks via the links on our site. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and Fall River, Massachusetts, thehistoryofwrestling.com, and Scott Keats' Blog of Doom. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, pro wrestling announcer Kevin Kelly here. I want to make sure you are all subscribed to all the great feeds here at Place to Be Nation. It's really easy to do. Just head to iTunes or your preferred podcatcher app today and search and subscribe to the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, which of course includes the full archives of the Kevin Kelly Show, the Place to Be Nation pod feed, and the Pro Wrestling Only feed. Subscribe, listen, and then rate us and leave feedback today. And be sure to give Justin your true thoughts. I mean, don't hold back. After all, he is kind of a jerk. Just listen to Scott.
Place to Be Nation's JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have a ton of great podcasts available to you on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlayStation.com, and we offer those to you on 3 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, we bring you the Mothership, the original Place to Be podcast, as well as Main Event, Lucha Afterground, and our monthly pay-per-view reaction shows, as well as the Our Vantage Point podcast and Jeff Learns Wrestling. In addition to these full-length shows, we also deliver quick-hit pod blasts on topics old and new.
Over on the Pro Wrestling Only feed, we dive deep inside the wrestling business with a stacked army of experts leading the way. The feed features potpourri shows such as This Week in Wrestling, Greetings from Allentown, Psychology is Dead, Puro Potpourri, Stacy and Elliot's Bogus Journey, and the Military Industrial Suplex. We also have shows that focus intently on certain topics like Letters from Center Stage, Space City, and NWA Classics On Demand Adventure, Through the Years, Strong Style History, Strong Style Story, and Mount Olympus. Plus, the feed has the full archives of legendary shows like Titans of Wrestling, Where the Big Boys Play, Letters from Kayfabe, and much more. And on our popular Place to Be Nation Pop podcast feed, we offer such great shows as the Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular, Rank and File, PTBN Dadcast, Go Home in a Box, NBA Team, and Lucha Undead, as well as a veritable podcast heaven for comics fans with the Hard Traveling Fanboys, Sellers Points, Todd Weber's Conversation, Geek and Sassy, and Imaginary Stories podcasts.
You can find all of these current shows plus archives of our past podcasts, including The Kevin Kelly Show, as well by subscribing to all of our feeds on iTunes, and while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others, available on PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects and more. Be sure to support our site by using PlaceToBeNation.com/Amazon when shopping online, and download our free PTB Vintage Vault Refresh ebooks via the links on our site. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and Fall River, Massachusetts, thehistoryofwrestling.com, and Scott Keats' Blog of Doom. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Okay, so as I've mentioned, or as Robert himself has mentioned, he's a big fan of the show, so he's been following, and he's been coming up with ideas himself. So I'm going to call to you to come up with who is Lucha City Nights' next chief.
So this week, on a very special episode of Lucha City Nights, I have a little story to go with our chief today.
Fantastic.
It just so happens it's the summertime, and you know, in Boyle Heights in the summer, it gets pretty warm.
It does.
Unfortunately, the air conditioning unit and the precinct is out. So everybody is sweating. There's a lot of tension going amongst all the officers there.
Yeah.
Joey Ryan is walking around without his shirt on, just like he's known to do, but it's even worse because it's oil and sweat. It's just gross. In walks our guest chief for the week, Glacier. Glacier walks in, and ice just covers over the precinct.
Nice.
Everyone is cooled off. It's a wonderful moment. He gets to come in his full gear, his Sub-Zero mask, everything, snow coming down around him.
Awesome.
He comes in and he keeps keeps everybody cool so they can keep busting bad guys.
I like it.
Until they get the air conditioning unit fixed, and then at the end he decides it's time for him to move on to another precinct.
Fantastic. Writes itself. Oh man, I can just imagine the little things that everyone's going to be snapping at each other in the opening there. That's great.
Yeah, Glacier was on my mind. That's who I'm going to be seeing on Friday at the Absolute Intense Wrestling show. He's coming out to wrestle Joey Janela, so that should be quite a spectacle.
I have heard Janela is something to see live. Have you seen him work live yet?
Multiple times.
Yeah.
I like Joey a lot. I think he's a really solid talent. I think a lot of people only know him from his deathmatch things, like the gif of him and Danzig coming off the roof into the back of the flaming truck, which really is not my scene. I'm not big on that kind of wrestling.
That's the niche of a niche right there. Notice I just want recently recreated by I'm sure you follow Wrestling Arcade.
Yes.
The guy who does those skits recently recreated that spot.
Yeah, he over the weekend he actually wrestled Jimmy Havoc at the Progress show. Who of course is also known for his deathmatch history, King of the Deathmatch this year over at CZW. So that was a fun little match they had with each other. Always worth checking out. Yeah, but I have nothing but praise for Joey Janela. He is somebody, if you have not seen somewhere, either on a show you can download from any of the number of promotions he worked from or get to see him live, it is worth the price of admission.
Cool. All right. Awesome. All right, so that brings us to our next match, which was the only other match of the night, and that is Pentagon Dark versus Mil Muertes. This is where I wrote down, I took a moment to admire the booking up to this point. They've built up to the end of the tournament. They've got this long feud with Pentagon and Mil. They've got the shit with Cage beforehand, as you notice with, aside from the fact that he's selling the ribs, they're working over this injury angle, and there's heat there. They found something for Cage. It feels like somebody's kind of connecting the dots really well here, I thought.
It really feels like they sat down when they put this all together, and you can tell based on how well the seasons kind of fit together. They sat down with an idea in mind before season 1 even aired and said, this is the story that we want to tell. And it might not feel like it at times, because there are definitely some lulls this season and in season 2. But when they get to those high points, man, it's tough to beat. You can tell they really have some good writers putting these things together.
I think, and that's the thing too. They just, I think I've said a while back, is that they probably had material for 36 strong episodes, and hey, how about 4 more? And they're like, all right. Sexy Star hates spiders. That's it. Yeah, just the bane of her existence. So he's got no gear on, as I said. He's none of the ceremony that usually pomp and circumstance that follows Mil to the ring. Starts with that great brutality and strength. Pentagon Dark going after the ribs, which is good stuff because they stuck to that the whole way through, and it gives him an immediate out, right? Flips to the outside, nice reaction from a green-haired woman in the crowd. Did you notice that? We got her a couple times.
They showed her a couple of times, and each time she was in shock of the violence she was witnessing.
Yeah, great stuff. I'm gonna say maybe first wrestling show, but a lifelong fan, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Your first time getting to see it and wondering, oh, it is real.
Yeah. Pretty close. Vampiro uses Pentagon Dark's offense to put over Krav Maga.
Well, of course, you have to get your plugs in every episode.
But that did make sense. I like that he was kind of punching down as he was describing. Good brutality throughout this match. Mil Muertes doing a good job of selling how he has to, not just the ribs, but how he has to kind of dig deeper to hit his strength stuff. It really works for this match really well. Mil Muertes hit the Lucha Destroyer on the outside, continues to brawl. Vampiro shows his kind of neutrality there, and then he had like kind of that weird kind of funny apology afterwards. I'm sorry. I know I'm not supposed to act this way. Like all of a sudden he's just this Boy Scout.
Vampiro was really odd to me during this entire episode. There were definitely, the first half of the episode, I thought he was terrible. He just couldn't. He was so excited, and when Vampiro gets too excited, he just starts rambling.
Just this train of thought.
I wrote down that I thought it definitely felt like the first episode of a new series of tapings because he just had so much energy.
Good point. Yeah, I can see it.
All over the place during the Puma match, and then there were times where he didn't say anything for 3 or 4 minutes. Stryker just had to carry all of the commentary, which isn't terrible all the time, but it definitely feels awkward with a 2-man booth.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, he's a firecracker, unpredictable, to say the least. So where was I? Okay, yeah, so he hits Reaper's Trident on the outside, but you can tell it's not 100%. They mentioned that. Stryker, what was he talking about here? It kind of makes, the cornered animal analogy, which, again, I can't remember being... outside of when he says Pearl Harbor to about Killshot coming out, I'm like, please don't go back to this. Otherwise, I was pretty cool with him this episode. I think he stayed on target, unless you can remember anything else that stood out.
No, I don't think he was. He was his usual self. There was some proverbs in there. He usually likes to yell in the middle of a series of moves. But overall, I think he did pretty well of carrying it, especially because, like I mentioned, Vampiro being silent during both of these matches for extended periods of time. And he carried his weight on this one for sure.
So nice touch here with Mill kicking out at 1, and then he hits his power slam. Pentagon hits that kind of reverse, is that a lung blower or code breaker, followed by several super kicks to take Mil Muertes down, goes up to the top, kicks Katrina. Wow. Yes. But Matt made sure to let us know that she deserved it. And then she did grab his leg, and she's not beyond, she's not outside of doing all sorts of brutality herself. And he hits the double stomp for the win. I went 3.5 on this. I like this one a bit better than the opener for sure. Even though they're both great matches, good story, nice performances, and a snug.
A little snug between these two gentlemen, which is what you expect, especially in a Pentagon match. That dude likes to hit people, and I think he's at his best when he's with someone who can hit him back. I mean, I think his best matches of the season were definitely back towards the Black Lotus Triad matches, just because it was unique. It was unique. It was fun to see, but these are the types of matches where he really shines, where he can haul off and really give his all on those punches and forearms, then he gets it back just the same.
Yeah, and a great dynamic of the two gimmicks too. Leads,
absolutely.
Like just built-in heat. Yeah, so post-match, he goes to grab Mil Muertes' arm, but Mil escapes. Great stuff. As they were down, this is a rivalry for another time. Good stuff.
Yeah, that was exciting. I thought for sure they were going to do that, which worried me. This close to Ultima Lucha Trace. I mean, I'm sure...
I want 100% Mil Muertes going in against Gauntlet Cage. I don't know about you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the money match right there.
Yeah, for sure. So finally we return to the ring. Dario Cueto is on the mic, introduces the title match for next week. He calls out the combatants, and we get a definite future soundboard quote here from Dario. I love it when my luchadors talk shit to each other.
That was fantastic.
Yep. And then right after this, he reaches that kind of manic Cueto level that only he can, that I just love, man. Like he was all over the place, as I said before this, in terms of emotional peaks and everything. Another great Dario episode. I thought this was an interesting segment. At first, I'm like,
interesting is a good word.
Yeah, at first I felt like, okay, you're checking things off. You're doing what you need to do. Ray comes down. He's shaking hands. He's kissing babies. Mundo comes down with a black T-shirt bodyguards. So
bodyguards cracked me up.
Yeah, me too.
You got 4 guys. 3 of them have security hats on.
Yeah.
The other guy kind of has an afro, so he can't put a security hat on. So it just looks a little awkward.
Yeah, should have put it on his belt loop or something. Just show that everybody's in the... Yeah, that was a funny touch.
I thought they might have had they might have had one of his security guards called off, so they were short a hat.
Yes.
But they thankfully had an extra security shirt that he could put on to make up for it.
Certain. Or somebody just spelt one wrong. It's like, security? What the hell does that mean?
We don't have time to get this remade. Get out there.
Anyways, but I mean, it's fine. Whatever. Good. He begins with Spanish. Strong words to start. Security kind of make a wall in front of him. Johnny Mundo brings up Dominic. Again, I'm like, oh, there we go, getting personal. I'm checking things off here. Dario Cueto's reactions through all of this, really good. Yeah, Mundo mentions a Mexican temper. I'm like, here we go. And then into short jokes mixed in with the family stuff until Ray finally snaps. And at this point, I'm like, okay, here we go. This is great. This is all you kind of need. Just kind of get a pull apart here or whatever. Maybe Ray gets the best of them or vice versa. And we're ready to move on. But at this point, I kind of scrolled down to see how much time we had left, and there's still like a solid 4 minutes. I'm like, what? Oh, no. Where are we going with this?
This is kind of where it goes off the rails.
It does. Worldwide Underground enters to team up, and they start the beat down with a curb stomp. And again, this one I'm like, okay, cut it, cut it.
Let him stand tall over him, some kind of arrogant pose. He puts his foot on Ray and holds the belt up, and we cut to black, and then we have next week's episode.
And bagel bites. No. Reminder of bagel bites. Anyways, rest of the locker room. All saunter down, like they weren't even running. They're just kind of taking their time. A melee ensues. I thought it was interesting that we see a Taya and Sexy Star chop exchange, knowing what we know now.
Yes, that was interesting.
Yeah, ends up with Johnny Mundo and Ray back in the ring. And again, okay, all right. You've done a little more than you have to, but if you're gonna finish it off here, this makes sense. But then enter Pumo and Pentagon, and I'm just like, what? But at the same time, I'm also kind of like, ooh, all of our big boys, here they are.
Exactly.
Okay, sure. Let's see where you go. Mil Muertes returns. Cage enters. And then finally Marty. I've got a question mark written down. They call it a roster riot. Chaos everywhere. Dario smiling from afar, which is nice. We got Joey Ryan and Vinny. Even Vinny Massaro is up.
Vinny Massaro. I love Vinny Massaro, but I had to draw the line at what in the world Vinny Massaro was doing at ringside. I was fairly certain that Kate killed him, or at least put him in the hospital, and he's out there rumbling with Joey Ryan, and I have no idea what beef those two guys have together.
And we got the Rabbit Tribe on commentary, whatever. I mean, at this point, if you're going to go Baroque with this, might as well just do what the fuck. And I'm thinking, this might be, maybe this is a nice moment for the roster, I guess, and probably a fun moment for the crowd there. But
being there live, I think, would have given a lot more enjoyment to this segment for me. Watching it on TV, I just kept shaking my head, and I just said, "This just feels so WWE to me."
Big time.
The big rumble before a Survivor Series.
But usually, usually it's a go home kind of image. But this is really just kind of the here we come. I guess it signals the home stretch of all their storylines are building up to. Because I guess what do we have? I mean, there's 9 episodes. 3 of those will be Ultima Lucha Trace, so we've got 6 to build up. The variety of their storylines.
I thought they were actually extending Ultima Lucha this year. There was talk that it might be 4 episodes.
Yeah. I wouldn't surprise me.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's hard to call it Ultima Lucha if you have if it's a tenth of your season is that one
good point.
Kind of show.
A good point.
It's hard to believe that everybody was there for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Although these days the big pay-per-views are 4
That's
hours.
right. That's a walk in the park. With pre-show, man, that's a bathroom break. But yeah, so interesting. As I said, I mean, we did get Killshot and Dante Fox just kind of, oh hey, this is crazy. I'm gonna take a look from up here. It's just
Dante Fox is just watching, and all of a of a sudden that hooligan kill shot comes out of nowhere and starts punching him.
Pearl Harbor.
He just wanted to watch.
Yeah.
I did like the Rabbit Tribe. After everybody had come out,
Yeah.
I finally just gave into the idea that we're getting anybody who's any significance in this, and them sitting on top of Dario's office eating carrots and laughing at everything.
Yeah,
I definitely got a good pop out of me for that.
Yeah, no, I got the idea that they were commentating into the carrots, like they were their
that's
mics.
funny. I didn't even think about that. I love that idea.
Yeah. So at that point, I'm like, oh, if you've gone this far, whatever. Yeah, you're right. But we saw that great in the middle of all this. Puma hit what looked to be like a 720 onto like 4 or 5 guys, which is always great. And then finally, it returns to Ray and the 619 to Johnny Mundo. Matt Stryker leaves with what I liked 2 comic book references with Civil War and Infinite Crisis, and we're done. So yeah, I mean, like I said, we got 2 really good matches tonight, and outside of the arguably excessive finish, everything kind of motored along, and we are. As I've said a couple times here today, headed into the home stretch.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have our title match set for next week with Ray and Mundo. We've got our finals for the Cueto Cup with Pentagon Dark and Prince Puma.
Yeah.
And the highlight of the evening, if I may say so, our favorite Veneno and Sexy Star in a mask versus mask match.
With the
there is some real drama there, I'm telling you.
If I'm Veneno, I'm doing homework. I am like loading up on spiders. Like I think that might be all he's got going for him right now is to just have like.
It's probably his best bet. What he should do, he should take some Jake the Snake lessons and bring a bag out.
A bag of spiders.
Or maybe several little bags, each with its own spider. He can have him hitting under the ring. But that boy needs some help because, as our wonderful leader Dario mentioned, Veneno is on a bit of a losing streak.
Oh yeah, that guy. Oh God, so great. Yep, we're on the same page, Bob. So before we kind of head off here, I think I went a little off on the numbers last week, but I'm afraid, or I'm not afraid, I'm happy to tell you, I think this is yours for the taking, good sir.
Boy.
Going into the final here, you were actually I was off by, I think I gave a little too many points last time, but you were at 34 in the lead. Stefan Adamus after this week, both of you got the full 4 points. He's at 32. We got our boss Chad at 31, myself at 30, Max at 29, and then bringing up the rear, Christopher Andrew Kent. So I think, I think maybe somebody's picked Puma here, but you've got Pentagon, so I know that I'm done. That's what I know. And
my faith in Dario paid off. He said Matanza was not going to be in the tournament. I trust Dario Cueto.
How can you not?
He said it wasn't going to happen, and he did not fail me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for this, Bob. It's really cool to actually finally talk to you, and you did not disappoint. Really appreciate your support over the years. You've been kind of keeping this train going to some extent, just in terms of just an online hearing from people. So we really appreciate it.
There's been some rough patches in this show, and the fact that you guys stuck through some of the doldrums of the middle of the first half of season 3, and I felt it with you. There were some episodes where you guys were definitely disappointed with what was happening. I was right there with you. I just kept hoping it would keep going.
Well, we definitely noticed.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Thank you. To find us, search for us on Twitter at Lucha_Afterground. Just search for Lucha Afterground, or follow Place to Be Nation wrestling feed or Place to Be Nation on iTunes, and give us a follow. And then, as I've said before, tell your friends. We need more Bobby C's in the world. Thank you again, my friend. Anything you'd like to add?
Nothing special. Just thank you very much for having me on. It's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate all the time you guys put into putting this together, and it's something I look forward to listening to every week.
Thanks, pal. That's it for us this week. Until next time, we are Bye.